Welcome to the Mega Print on Demand Summit. I'm Melissa Reynolds, one of your hosts. Are you ready to learn about print on demand? I hope so, because we have some great speakers lined up for you. This is day one of the summit, and we are going to be discussing the building blocks of success. So let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome. I'm Jason Goff, and this session is called The 30 Whys of Social Media. Now, I imagine a lot of you already have some sort of presence on social media. If not for your business, personally, you're on Facebook, you've tweeted a couple of times in 1986, or so it seems like 1986, but maybe it was like 2013 or something. Anyway, I'm just going to remind you of a few things that you need to consider when you are posting on social media and give some food for thought as to what platforms you might want to become involved with. Just a little bit of background about myself. I'm Jason, and I have been a full-time social media marketer since 2009. It all started back when I was the sales and promotions manager for a museum, and I was selling to the motor coach industry. They all gathered in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I gave a presentation to each tour operator who wanted to speak with me about why they should add our attraction to their itineraries for the following year. While I was there, they had a breakout session that I was able to attend, and it was all about why your business should be on Facebook. I had joined Facebook about a year and a half before that. I knew that it was a great way to make connections personally. My wife and I even traveled to New Hampshire to connect with an old friend, and it just took me to a lot of places that I never thought I would have been able to go. And when I saw that there was this opportunity for my business to have a presence on social media, I jumped on it, headed straight back to my hotel room, decided that I was going to apologize later, started a Facebook page for the museum, and throughout that year, it had grown a following into the tens of thousands of people, and hundreds of people every day were interacting with our content. It was fun, and I credit that with a lot of business that came our way. Anyway, fast forward a couple of years, my wife and I were taking a walk, and we were talking about what does the future look like. We were about to turn 40 years old. You know, you start to think, okay, what do I really want to do? We decided that we really wanted to tour America in an RV. So we bought an RV and have been traveling with our 6-year-old son. He was 3 at the time. Since 2016, we've gone all over the place. This is how we met Melissa. And Melissa, thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this. So the 30 whys of why you should be on social media. Number 1, SEO. Google, Bing, these search engines, they are going to find you based on keywords that you have in your posts. For instance, I have a podcast. It's called Election College. It's the podcast all about the history of elections in the United States. Well, the name was chosen for a reason, because it's a play off of Electoral College. And I knew that if I could have some sort of spin off of a familiar term and then use that with the keywords. So if you were to look in iTunes right now, or I'm sorry, it's Apple Podcasts now, you would see that it says presidential election history. I'm going to find a new audience of people. I'm going to add people to our audience because of the keywords that we have. There is a tool called the Google Keyword Tool that can help you find out what keywords your audience would be interested in. But the main thing that I want you to think about when you're thinking of SEO is, what is my value proposition? When I think of some of the print on demand keywords that we've used with the podcast, It has to do with election history, has to do with presidents. So we came up with ugly Christmas sweater t-shirts a few years ago and have had a lot of fun with that. Number 2, you want to be on social media to promote and protect your online image. It's all about reputation management, right? We see so many businesses that don't speak up when they need to speak up, whether it's somebody speaking about your business or a cause that your business would support. Being present with your social media properties allows you to manage your reputation. Number 3, you see your customers' comments in real time. You can also find out potential customers' comments in real time. That's one part of Twitter that I really like. Now, you can waste a lot of time scrolling through Twitter, but if you have certain hashtags that you know are related to your industry, to your business focus, then you can see what people are saying and you can develop relevant content. You can create things that are related to what people are speaking about. Number 4, transparency. It's all about transparency, isn't it? We find that when we don't hide behind whatever it is we're hiding behind, when you're transparent, when people see that, okay, you're the guy who is wearing shorts with a collared shirt and giving the news, kind of like John Krasinski did with the good news that he shared during the pandemic. You know, that was transparent. That was authentic. People love that type of content. Transparency lets people see you for who you are, what your brand is all about. That it's not just a black and white, well, here we go, we figured we'd put something out to market, there you go. No, it allows people to see the why behind your brand. Number 5, you build credibility in your industry. One person I think about is Roger Wakefield. Roger is a plumber, and his business was suffering, and he didn't know how to differentiate himself. Well, he attended Social Media Marketing World, who I have the pleasure of working with. And at Social Media Marketing World, he got inspired to create content that would help plumbers build their business. He also created content to help people figure out how to do some of these plumbing projects. I know I have needed that. So just being out there to show people how to do what they need to do to get the job done. That's a way you can build credibility in your industry. With the history podcast, I don't have a history degree. As a matter of fact, I didn't do very well in history, but I knew people wanted to be able to relate history to the present. You see a lot of people who don't know about how our government is set up, even though they're high school and college graduates. Well, I wanted to create content to be able to relate these things to the present. And what's happened? I get comments from political science degree holders, history teachers are saying they're listening to the podcast because it helps them help their students. I have some credibility in the history space, even though I didn't do very well in history. Number 6, your competitors are on social. If there's anything we learned from this pandemic is those who have been on social, especially the local businesses, those who have had that consistent following on social, they have an advantage. My wife and I recently did a half marathon. We walked it, and it was a virtual deal. And here we are, we're in an area that we're not from, and we wanted to be able to celebrate with a nice meal afterwards. Well, what did we do? We got on the internet and we read reviews. We saw who was current in their postings on social media. So we chose a local restaurant to eat at, well, to bring the food back. And it was largely because of that interaction. We knew that they were inside their business and they were ready to serve. Well, number 7, your customers and your competition's customers are on social media. Yeah, they are. Your competitors' customers, they are looking, they are wanting interaction, and if the people who they've called on to service them are not interacting, then maybe they'll interact with you. There's a good chance. Number 8, social expands your reach. And boy, does it ever. I can think of flying across the country to volunteer at a conference because of the affinity that had been developed between me and that organization. I've driven 4 hours to conferences way out of my market in order to interact face to face with people, with brands that I found via social media. So expanding your reach, it's not just about being local to one area. It's not just about being in one niche even. Sometimes you can branch out, and social allows you to do that. Social is global. I find myself interacting with people from all over the world every week. I speak to somebody from India and somebody from Ireland because of social media. Social is local, just like that restaurant that we ate at a couple of weeks ago. It's local. I found them because of their presence on a global platform. Number 11, social provides affordable ways to advertise. I hear people complaining about having to pay to play on Facebook. And then I think, wait a second, that Facebook ad is a lot cheaper than what you would pay to be on a billboard or to buy a radio ad or a television ad. You can test drive your ads. You can spend $5, give it a shot, see what happens in a day to see if your target market is interested in what you have to say. That's a lot better than spending $500 and not knowing what's going to happen. Number 12, easy amplification of your message. I want to hammer home, in case you have never heard this, your website is like your home country, and your social platforms that you're present on, those are like your embassies. You never want to have your primary seat of government at your embassy, right? You need to have a home. Well, on your home, you want to be able to easily share or have people share your information, your content on the various social platforms. So do have those social icons on your blogs, on your video posts, so people can share those on their social media. Number 13, if your customer isn't able to purchase right now, they might buy in the future. I have no idea how many. I know it's probably more than I can count on my fingers of how many brands that I have followed for weeks, months, maybe even years, where I haven't bought right then and there on the spot. But through that relationship that was built on social media, eventually I will buy because of that brand awareness that has been built on social. Number 14, your brand becomes personal. I think of Chipotle. They have some great ads out there. They have some great billboards, like the billboard that has a farmer and it says, our farmers don't wear lab coats. They've taken that strategy and put videos together where they show some of the people who have sourced the food that they serve at Chipotle. Gives it that personal approach. And when you think, okay, am I going to go to any number of restaurants in that genre? I'm probably going to go to Chipotle because I know that there is a face to that person who grew, who farmed, who sourced, and then transported the food. It's very effective. Number 15, it's about the relationships, right? Your business becomes more about the people you serve than about the business that you have. The servant leader, it enables you to really know who it is you're speaking to and to serve them well. Number 16, niche or niche your audience. You've heard there's riches in the niches. Well, that is something that I do believe. But have you ever thought of this too? Just to give it a little bit more of an experience to this point. Have you ever been in a city, another city, one that maybe you don't think about very often? And you're in this city, it's a different market, and you're in a traffic jam. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but when I'm in a traffic jam in a place that I'm not familiar with, one of the thoughts that crosses my mind is, oh my goodness, there are a lot of people on this planet. There are people in states right now that you haven't thought about in a while. There are so many people. There are people who want to hear your message. There are people who want to buy your product. And the more you niche that down, you are going to have a higher rate of return from people who are actually interested in that thing that you have. I would much rather wear a t-shirt from my favorite sports team than wearing a t-shirt from the league that they play in, for instance. Just a thought. Number 17, social networks are social. There's a stat out there from a recent study that says that 50% of people do not trust marketers, but we trust people. And so when you're social, when you give that human element to your brand, people are going to be much more likely to like, know, and trust you. You've heard that before. Number 18, social levels the playing field. That Twitter account that Coca-Cola started took as much time as it would take for you to start one. It levels the playing field. Now, certainly there's ad dollars and then there's just the brand recognition going into everything, but it levels the playing field for everyone. We all have equal access to get onto these networks. Number 19, Facebook is still important. That's right. Facebook, I remember about 10 years ago, somebody said Facebook is on the way out. They're not. And there's a lot of opportunity, both in your personal page and then on a business page, to grow and to use innovative ways like getting involved in Facebook stories. Not a lot of people are using Facebook stories. It's your opportunity to grow with the platform. It will still be there for years to come. I just know it. Number 20, YouTube is the second largest search engine. A lot of people don't realize that there are more people, a higher percentage of people who are on YouTube, who are watching YouTube, than there are consuming information from Facebook. YouTube is a great place to have a strong presence. As the second largest search engine, it's all about answering questions. So if you have a way to resource people with information, YouTube is a great way to get the word out and to eventually sell your products. Number 21, have you thought about a TikTok strategy? You know, TikTok, if you know what TikTok is, a lot of people think TikTok is just for young people, but more and more older people are beginning to download the app and get active on TikTok. So if you haven't thought about that, begin to think about that. There are a lot of resources on socialmediaexaminer.com that can provide you with information on how to get started on TikTok. Number 24, social media drives traffic to your website. And like I said earlier, your website, that's home. Use social to get people onto your website. One thing about this, and I'll mention this practically a little bit later. But if you're wanting to grow and to be more active on social media, then you're also going to want to curate content from other people. And what better way to curate content from other people is to provide links to interesting information that others provide. And it forms this ecosystem where you become the person who has authority, who can refer people to other sources, not just your own products. By taking those interactions and making them analog, it makes it that much more special. Number 26, I'm going to include podcasting in this because it's all online, and podcasting gives you a connection point. It enables you to further and to deepen relationships with your customers. In Cincinnati, we have this t-shirt company called Cincy Shirts. And Cincy Shirts has a podcast all about Cincinnati and the culture that is there. And one really cool thing is we ordered a t-shirt a couple weeks ago from them, and they sent us with the shirt a baseball card. Well, a lot of people in Cincinnati love baseball. It's the birthplace of professional baseball, and they know their audience enough to say, okay, here's a baseball card. And it turned out to be a rookie card from somebody, a famous player, and I opened it and I'm like, this is so cool. They know what their audience enjoys, and they're able to get an idea of that through not only the social, but through podcasting, through the reviews that come in. They have their finger on the pulse of what their market wants. Number 27, social platforms give you the opportunity to be the media outlet of choice. You can get your news from a friend. I mentioned John Krasinski, who did the good news videos at the onset of the pandemic. How cool is that to get news from somebody who's like a friend? Well, you can be like that resource of offering relevant information in kind of a news format. You can have your own show where you're providing valuable content and your product just happens to be part of that. Number 28, social media can help you build a text messaging list. And then you've heard of Facebook Messenger bots as well. I want to challenge you when using text campaigns and using bots. These are great, and the open rates are phenomenal. I mean, extraordinary. But it's still on borrowed territory. You still want to get that email address. But this is another way. These are other ways to engage and to interact with your audience and keep that relationship going well into the future. Number 29, building and cultivating an effective email list. You know, email doesn't have all the high fancy open rates that the bots and the text message campaigns have. But if you have a regular, valuable presence in people's email, you are going to be seen as a go-to resource. That relationship is going to be beneficial to you and to your customers. Don't be the company that emails once every 3 years. Out of the blue, you get this email and you're like, oh, did I sign up for their email list? No, that's not going to be effective. But that continuous, valuable information to keep you updated on what's really important to you, by providing that information through email, you're going to be sure to get the customers that you want to get. And number 30, trust. Why be on social media? Trust. It's all about developing, building, cultivating relationships. Again, people are going to buy from businesses, from people who they know, they like, and they trust. Okay, let's get practical with a brand that I'm starting, and it's a new podcast. The podcast is also a history podcast, like the one that I currently have, but it's going to be a little bit different. I want to bring in a new group of people who are interested in culture and and much more interested in personalities, short stories, than what I have in my current group. So I'm going to invite people from my personal Facebook page, my Twitter, my Instagram, to like my new podcast. Content is king, correct? We know that. Content is what helps drive affinity. So what I'm going to do, knowing what I know about video being so important, remember how I said YouTube, a higher percentage of the population consumes content on YouTube on a regular basis than even Facebook. So I'm going to produce a video presentation, knowing that I'm going to take the audio from that video and publish that to the podcast directories. I will take stories and develop smaller video presentations. So a podcast might include 4 or 5 different stories within that episode. I'm going to use 4 or 5 different stories to produce original content for my social posts. The social posts, in turn, will have even shorter live videos of me promoting the stories. So it's a natural progression of short videos going to longer videos, going to a full episode, which could be 18 minutes long. I'm going to serve people who only have 2 to 3 minutes. I'm going to serve people who can sit through the whole thing. The podcast is going to be centered around that piece of content, but then also I would like to have products that are related, because we all have certain loyalties to different states, different issues that come up that are related to our regions and our localities. So with all of that, there's this nice synergy that I hope will happen where people will get excited to hear about the history of their state or a state that they're taking a vacation to. Perhaps they'll want a t-shirt. Who knows? But there is a strategy where I'm able to take everything that is said, every major point that is said in my podcast, where I can develop a smaller piece of content, a product around that smaller piece of content that will connect with people. I hope to build trust by providing valuable information that will help people. The really cool thing is I can do all of this on the cheap. It's all built in. Whether you're a Mac user or a Windows user, you have the tools. You have free resources like Canva, where you can create graphics. Adobe Spark is another good resource for creating graphics. iMovie, Windows Movie Maker, all of these different built-in tools can help you. If you have a smartphone, you have everything you need to be able to produce good content, making your brand relatable, making it something that people are going to want to make as a part of their day. So I hope that helps. You can download the list of 30 whys on my website. If you go to jasongoff.com/summit, there's a link to download that. And then I'll put links for some of the other resources that I use. I also use Agorapulse for scheduling. There's a lot of cool tools there. I suggest following them on social media because they have a lot of great content that's fun. Fun videos, great interviews, podcasts, all kinds of resources there. Another one is Social Media Examiner. There's online summits that they produce, as well as marketing guides. If you need any tips on how to get started in advertising, I would suggest that you reach out to Social Media Examiner for a lot of great free content. If you have any questions for me, I'm Jason at jasongoff.com. And I hope that if there is anything that I can help you with to gain clarity, to help identify, simplify, and amplify your message, that you'll feel free to reach out, and I'll help you in any way I can.
Wow, that was awesome. I hope you took a lot of notes. If you're interested in getting the recordings, we have an all-access pass you can get. We will put a link in the description below. We have more great training coming up, so stay tuned. And if you know of anybody that's interested in learning print on demand, go ahead and tell them about our Mega Print on Demand Summit and have them get registered.